Peace be upon you. My name is Rashidat Siddiq, the Emoligent teacher. Today we're going to talk about how to identify learners' needs. Now before we go into that, we actually want to state what learners' needs are. There are various definitions, and one of it states that it's the gap between where the learners are and where they need to be. So the needs are those things that they have, or those gaps that they have that have to be filled for them to reach the ultimate goals. Another definition states that it's the deficit in the skills that learners have. And for me, I liked the definition that just says that it's the necessary skills that the learners need to attain in order to meet their passions and their talents. For example, learners' needs may be with regards to the knowledge they have. It may be with regards to the skills that they lack, and it may be with regards to their attitudes and the fact that they need an attitudinal shift to be able to learn properly and to move ahead in class. Why is it important for us to identify and address learners' needs? Well, I know 4 main reasons. The very first one is that it helps you to actually touch individually every learner in your class and make sure that no one is left behind. It also helps you to make the best use of the talents of the individual learners so that they're able to attain their full potentials. The third thing that it does, it helps you to plan and design your lessons in such a way that you can cater to different learning styles and different learning needs. And finally, it helps you to organize activities that are engaging and the students or learners will be able to relate to, because you've identified their needs, you know their hobbies, and your activities will be relevant for them. So how would you identify the learner's needs? Well, the best way would be to have a needs assessment done, but that isn't within the purview of this talk. So I'm just going to give you some of the methods that you can use to try to help you to identify the learner's needs. The very first one is observation. As a facilitator, as a teacher, you have to be a keen observer. So watch each child, watch how they behave, watch what they react to, watch how best they learn. Some people like to listen more, some people like to do more, some people are visual, some are more kinesthetic. What kind of learners do you have? Take note of this and try to keep an anecdotal record of when a child is excited. So some learners, you find that they're excited when you have art activities. Some learners are excited when you have things to do with reading, when you have things to do with science. Then you start to have an idea of where their skills are, of where their talents are. You can also take note of times when the learners struggle or times when they're not in the mood to do a task. Then you know that maybe they don't like that task, or maybe because they have that deficit or that gap, that's why they're not so happy to engage in such a task. So the first one, like I said, is observation and keeping of records. The second thing that you can do, which is also very important, is use of assessments. Now, there are different types of assessments, but you can use informal and formal assessments to take notes of where each learner is in the learning curve, and you identify where they're lacking. So not only do we do these assessments or have the learners take the assessments, it's very important that we do a data analysis from the assessment, and then we can try to identify where the gaps are and what we can do to help the learners to close those gaps. The third thing that we can do when we want to identify learners' needs is to talk to the learner. Yes, that's very, very important. Talk to the learner. Ask them questions. Ask them the things they like to do. Ask them the things they'd want to do more of. Ask them the things they find difficult, why they find it difficult. Ask them how you can be of help. You'd be surprised at the amount of information they would give you. Another thing that you can do, talk to the parents and caregivers. They already have the background knowledge of the child. They may be aware of some of the needs that are not so apparent to you as a teacher. And you may not want to spend the entire half term or entire term observing before you have access to those answers that you need to help the child do better. So do interact with the parents as the children are coming in, during your open days, even on the phone if need be, just so that you can get the needs of the individual learner. Finally, you can assess learners' needs by comparing to grade level expectations by looking at the standards for that level in different fields of endeavor. So what are the standards in literacy? Is the child meeting up? Is there a gap? Once the learner's needs have been identified, then as a teacher, you can go to work on how best those needs can be met. Thank you for listening. And to summarize, the needs can be categorized into 4 main components. So we have needs that are physical in nature. Some children have manipulative development issues. They need physical development. Some children need social development. They have issues with social skills like interactions, cooperation, teamwork. Other children need cognitive development, and this can be gotten through the needs assessment. And finally, there are children that need emotional development, that need to know when to be kind, that need to know to show empathy. All of this you can try to get an idea of when you follow the steps we've highlighted. Thank you for listening. Until we meet again, bye-bye.